Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Craft Eccentricity. And today we're using that sewing set. So I'm going to be using the sewing paper pack that I got last week in the haul, which has got lots of pretty papers and stuff in there. And I've chosen one from there. I've just knocked my little bottle of Dollar Tree glue over. I'm going to use the doily. I'm going to use the sewing kit, which is you get a couple of pairs of scissors and all those lovely cotton reels. And I'm also using the sewing box. Now, I can tell you, in an attempt to be organised, I have already done a couple of things. Right, Distress Oxide, and I'm using those colours. So I'll just put those there so you can see. I'm using four of my swirly twirly brushes because they're lovely for colouring in. And what have I got up to? Oh yeah, I need to show you what I've done. So if I move these out of the way, we're going to be making a card. And I have done the card base. So that is the card base that I'm going to be doing. And that's a sheet of cardstock from that pack. It's got the lovely sewing machine up here, and you've got sort of like fabric prices and sewing machine prices. So I thought that would look nice. It has been trimmed so that it fits within a 6x6, and to trim it I cut the lace off the bottom because I didn't want to lose this, and that is why from the doily I cut this. So I'm actually going to be putting some lace right back in there, and if I overlap the paper underneath onto the white edge of the cardstock, that does not bother me. The other thing that I have done, I can tell you we are going to colour that lace in because I just feel that I need to make it pop a little bit. I did this. This is the sewing box. It's huge, and I can't remember if I measured this or not. Now, I don't know if I want to darken up the flowers a little bit. I might. I think it might look a bit pale for me, but if I go down here, it is a fraction over 5 inches when you take in this point here. And then the width of it, if we get it at the angle where we would have it, I'm going to say 4¼ inches. So it's a fabulous size. So the makeup of the card is going to be the doily and the sewing box on top. So I might keep the Emporium prices or just 18.79 above that. And then trying to pick them up carefully, I have already die cut all the little pieces out of the sewing set. So these, I may not use them all, but these are all of the individual bits. Now, I do love that pair of little fancy sewing scissors. That's more like for cutting fabric, isn't it? And we've also got a tape measure. We have several buttons in that set, and I hope you can see what I'm putting down. And we have a needle and a pin, which I can pop there. And we also have this really sweet little pin cushion. Now, I didn't poke those bits out because I quite like them, so I left them in. So anyway, I've done this. Not sure whether I like the depth of the pink, whether it needs to be a little bit darker or maybe it needs a little bit of something else. But I'm just squeezing those over with my hand, picking these bits up, and I'm going to put my scruffy mat down so that I don't get ink all over my sheet of paper. And first of all, I'm going to look at this and see if I can't darken it up just a fraction. And I've got my brushes here, and they've already got ink on them actually. So I'm going into my spun sugar, which is what I showed you before, and see if a second coat won't darken it up just a little fraction. Just really want to swirly twirly around those centres. And you only need to use ever such a little bit of ink with these to get a good effect. And they are fabulous for stencils. Right, if you can see that, it's a little bit darker now, and that makes me a lot happier. So I'm going to leave that as is. And next up, I'm going into my antique linen. I'm just putting those down. And I want to do the doily behind in antique linen, but I also want to put some walnut stain in too. So I could actually use my wider ones for this. I've got the little ones because, you know, I'm planning on doing smaller items, but just to give you a rough idea, even with a little tip like that, because I put my finger there so you can see how small it is, just how quickly you start to get some great coverage. So I'm in the habit of always putting my lid back on, and I shouldn't really if I just keep going back into the pot. But another great cheat here is being aware of how much of your doily you're going to have hanging out, because we know that the sewing basket is going onto some of it. So it could be that the bit that I've coloured, and obviously you want to do your tips as well, is sufficient for what I'm doing. So I could actually leave that other bit white, but I'm just going to go in and just do the edges, because they're obviously bits that might be hanging out. And if I get my sewing basket back over and pop it on, you kind of see what I mean. And it doesn't matter that there's white there, it kind of enhances it. That's what I'm going to say. Right, and now walnut stain. I'm going to add some of that around the edge. So I'm just taking the lid off that. I'll bring it in so you can see it a bit. And this would make a great stencil, because look underneath. Isn't that lovely? Yes, you could put that down and do that on a piece of paper. So this is quite dark, but personally I think it's just going to make it pop just around those edges. And you can kind of pick up a little bit if you've got some left on your mat and just tickle those little bits. And I always go quiet when I'm doing stuff like this, because I just love doing it. You know, I just go into a world of my own. I think I'm in a world of my own most of the time, actually. Oh dear. Right. So I think there's enough colour there on the tips. You can see that. Just a really great way to colour, and it just doesn't hurt your hands. You just hold it upright and just swirl it around, you know, just do your thing. Right, so that is that. And I need to fix it down. So obviously I've got yuck there, and I'm still going to get even more yuck on that, but I'm just going to roll it back for a minute and put it over to the side so that I can position my doily. Now I'm thinking about where the sewing box goes, and did I do enough colouring to, you know, get rid of most of that white. Now I don't really want my sewing box in the centre. Now that might look actually like it's off edge, but it isn't actually. But I will raise it up just a fraction. So you can see, you know, you would have spent all that time colouring your doily and then covering it up. So I'm quite happy with the position there, and I can still see my sewing machine, and I've got a little bit of something going on up there. So I just hold my finger in the middle, curl my doily up, and then pray that the glue is going to come out of your bottle, which it is, and just dot it. Now you've got to remember, I've got foam pads underneath the sewing box, which will also aid in holding this down. And I will vanish in a second while I just hold it and glue it. Right, I'm going to hold it and I'll be right back. Right, so that is glued down where I want it. And also, while I was off camera, I just grabbed the Victorian velvet to colour in some of these little cutter parts here. And I've got loads of pads on the back, so I'm just going to pause while I take these off, and then we'll stick it down. Right, so I took all the sticky pads off, and now just to decide where I want it, and if you look here, you can see my inks are always separating. Do you see that? I just do not know why. but a little bit of the Victorian Velvet just splashed there. So I'm going to have to find something to cover it with. So I'm going to go there for my sewing box. So that's all up, and that's 3D now. And you can see behind there all of those foamy pads. So now that that bit is done, sorry if I'm shouting again, I'm going to sit down. Yes, I am. And I'm going to bring back my scruffy mat. Yeah, because I'm basically going to use the same colour. And I'm going to colour everything in antique linen. And then I'm going to come back and put other colours over that if I want to. So quite literally, everything is going to be antique linen. And then I'll just add my shade and my shadows. So I thought I had a little button stuck under there. I've got my cute little cotton reels. I don't know if I'm going to use the fabric scissors because I like those, but then I might use all of it. Why not? And then we've got the cute little safety pin and got that tiny little button. Now, a cluster of little buttons down at the bottom of my basket where the tattered rose splashed, you know, that's a perfect way to hide mistakes like that without having to start all over. So back into the antique linen, I've got my little brush, and all I'm going to do now is just colour everything in exactly the same as that. That's all I'm doing. So I'm going to colour everything antique linen, and I will be right back. Right, so I've done that, and I did decide to leave some white because I'm just going to do those in Stormy Sky and a little bit of black soot. And I've got a little bit of black soot on here, and I don't want to overdo it. So I think that what is on that foam will be enough. So the first thing that I want to do is the cotton reels, and I'm basically doing same or similar colours. This one is Victorian Velvet, and as I said, you know, you can see, I don't know why it does it. I've got quite a few pads that do that, and I think oh, what's it called, aged patina or something like that. That's the one that's the worst for me. It just leaks everywhere. So you're quite literally now just using your brush as if you're using a pen and just adding your bit of colour in there. So I'm quite happy to have both cotton reels in pink. Why not? And you just need to just gently tap your pad, because you can see how much it picks up just from doing just one gentle tap. And I had to look at my camera then because I thought, oh no, I'm doing it again. I'm doing it again. I'm recording or I'm not recording. Right, for this one, I'm going to use what is left on here. And I'm just going to put my finger there and just use a little bit. So I've got a little bit going on there, but then I'm going into the pad and I want it darker down there. So I'm a bit two-tone. Right. And of course, the bit that I've left white up there is going to be grey, my Stormy Sky, silvery kind of thing. And I think I'm going to do this as well. And then just sweep it in, not too heavy for this because I'm going to have to use my water brush, I think, to get in there and get that needle done in grey. So all of my threads are pink. I'm going to leave that colour, and I'm going to have a couple of pink buttons, and then I'm going to have a couple of Stormy Sky buttons. I'm going to do these quite dark. So you saw me there, I just double tapped the pad and that picks up a lot of ink. Right, so very matchy, but those need to dry for just a second and I will come straight back. Right, so the next colour that I'm using now, that I've done these, is the Stormy Sky, and that's going to give me the grey that I need, but I'm just going to tap into here. Picked up quite a bit, and I just want to touch the ends of my pins. So that's my little pin cushion, which I think is rather sweet. And I'm going to do the thimble, and then I shall go away and do the others. And of course I'm going to outline these with the black soot. Right, so I'm going to use get some clarity in the camera. Don't know what happened there. Maybe I need to drop my camera lower. And I will be right back. Right, so while my other grey blue bits are drying, I need to do the needle on this one. Let's see if I can get that in. So I'm going to use my water brush, and there's still a lot of ink left down there on the mat. And this is my water brush. This is from AliExpress. And the tip is usually just, a little bit damp when I'm doing colouring like this. And I just want to be able to drag that colour down that section just to enhance that a little bit. So now you've got a needle going through the thread. Right, this needs a little bit more drying, and I need to go wash my mat. Right, so I think those are dry sufficiently, and now all I need to do is go around and edge with some black soot. Now, I know that I've got a little bit of ink on here, but I don't want to go too harsh, if you know what I mean. So I'm just tickling the sides. So that is our tape measure. Now, if I bring my card back in just for a second and rest it down there, I can start to pop my bits on top. And of course, we've got the pin cushion, which is really sweet. And I don't mind going a little bit heavier at the bottom of that. And then just touch the tips of the pins, just to enhance them slightly, so that we've got that one. And you just want it to, pop off the card. So I'm just going to edge everything exactly the way you see me doing it now, and I will come right back. Okay, so I've done all of that, and of course it's just a matter now of taking these and putting them exactly where you want them. Now, as I already said, if I move that up, you can see I've got that little blob there of Victorian Rose Distress ink. So, or shall I say oxide ink. And I'm just going to put some glue down there, because that's the first thing that I want to hide. Because what a terrible shame, you're making a card for someone and something like that happens. So just go in and hide it. That's all you got to do. Just hide it. You don't have to start all over again. And I want to pile these buttons up, actually. So I like to work in odd numbers, so I'm going to go 3. And then I want my little blue one just off here. So I think that's it's all right, my wax just vanished up inside. That's a nice little corner element that has hidden all that yuck that was down there that would have kind of like ruined it. So you've got your buttons off down there. Right, now then, what else? It's about where you want to put it, isn't it? I'm thinking about that pin cushion and whether I want it on my sewing basket, whether I want it lower down the sewing basket. I think I want my tape measure in there and kind of coming off at a little angle. And then when I think about things like that, and I think about how pretty the basket is, and do I really want to hide that, I think about piecing things in front. Now I've got a pair of fabric shears that can come just off the card there, but then I've also got these which I really like because I think these are just really pretty. So just thinking about where stuff will go. And do I want my scissors with my thread? So basically all I'm doing is trying to get the arrangement that I want on my card here, and then I'll run away and glue it and come back. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to have that there. I know that I want my two cotton reels together. One is bigger than the other. So I quite like that arrangement. And I think I like the idea of a safety pin around here somewhere. Because you do get a lot of bits. You don't have to use them all. But you know me. I'm going to put that one there. I'm just going to pile everything up. And then I've got a little needle and I've got another pin. And I could, if I wanted to, make that more 3D and glue that on top, which I think I'm going to do. And then I've got another spare pin, which I think I'm just going to put with the pin cushion. So kind of how you see it there, I'm just going to glue it and come right back. Right, so I have glued everything down, and we can just have a little close-up here as to it was really easy to make. I mean, you know, just getting your little brushes and colouring everything in. And as you can see, I did glue that needle right over the top of that little reel of thread there. But if you wanted to, you could cut your scissors in foil so that they're silver, if that's what you like, or you can use a sparkly pen. And also, just to show you the two pockets here, I'd actually glued down onto gold cardstock, the glitter cardstock underneath. But if you snip that little piece there, you could actually take your scissors and, you know, tuck them part way down into a little pocket. And you could also do that with a reel of thread or even the tape measure if you wanted to. But that's the configuration that I've come up with today. And of course, the little buttons down there hiding that ink splash. So I thank you so much for joining me, and we're going to be up again with more from Panalisa tomorrow. I haven't got a clue which of them I'm going to do, but I've got a big bag of stuff to rummage through. So we'll be up to make something. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome day, and as usual, all links below. Bye.